Hello, my fair weather data friends. It's the weekend. I've got weekend beard going on. Sorry about that. But today we're going to talk about Apache Iceberg on Databricks. I'm surprised people haven't been talking about this more, considering how much Apache Iceberg has sucked when it comes to catalogs and full support for tools. Luckily, Databricks has come to our rescue, and I'm going to talk about that today. Okay, to be honest, I'm not sure why Databricks did this. They now have announced full support, so read-write support for Apache Iceberg inside their Unity catalog system on Databricks, and I'm not sure if it's just like a token. They're just kind of throwing a piece of bones to all you Apache Iceberg suckers out there instead of using Delta. Like, I don't know why they did this. I'm not totally sure why someone on a Databricks platform would use Apache Iceberg, but you could. And I suppose if you're a big company and you have multiple systems and you've got lake houses everywhere, that could include Apache Iceberg, so this could be a big deal for maybe some of those companies. Anyways, here's the announcement from Databricks. They announced full Apache Iceberg support. So as you can see, this is probably just more than anything a testament to Apache Iceberg's enduring strength as well as its widespread acceptance in the system. And I think Databricks is just saying, hey, we recognize Apache Iceberg's here to stay. We're now offering you full read-write support with Unity Catalog in your Databricks environment, meaning you can actually use tools outside of the Databricks environment to read and write Apache Iceberg tables using the REST catalog from Unity Catalog, as long as you have a token to access that environment, which is nothing new. You would require that most for any catalog system, right? You need a token to access that system. As long as you have that, they provide you an endpoint, a REST endpoint for an Iceberg catalog, and you can create, read, update, write, whatever you want. So kind of what I wanted to do today is I wanted to test that out to see if that's true. Can you truly create Apache Iceberg tables, writing and reading to them from a tool like Polars, so not Spark, from Polars outside of your Databricks environment? So taking, my Databricks environment that I have an access token to get there. Databricks gives you a URI for a REST endpoint for Iceberg. Can I use Polars on my local machine to write to a table, a brand new Apache Iceberg table in using my Unity catalog? Will it show up there? Can I read and write from it from outside the environment as long as I have creds? I want to see if that works, because that's pretty cool, because nobody else has done that to this day. A couple side notes: if you are doing this yourself in your Databricks environment, you need to basically turn on a couple things to make this all work. You have to enable external data access to your metastore. That's obvious. You have to grant principal, whatever principal is you doing that, you got to grant them the right to use external schema to that, service account or you or whatever, right? And then obviously you have to have a personal access token, a PAT, from a service counter for yourself to be able to hit your Databricks environment. So 3 things. And again, I'm going to try this with Polars and Iceberg, and I'm going to try to reach out into my Unity Catalog Databricks environment, create a Unity Catalog Iceberg table. I want to write data to that table, and then I want to read it back. All from outside the Databricks environment using the credentials. Okay, so I decided to use the Divi Bike Trips open source data set. It's just a bunch of data about ride sharing program, the different bike trips that happen. It should be easy enough to turn this into an Apache Iceberg table using Polars. I went ahead and set up this simple Docker file image. You can see it right here. There's pretty much nothing to it. It's just the Python latest Docker image. And then I went ahead and just installed some Vim, some wget, so I could pull down that file, unzip it, etc., etc. Install Polars, easy enough. And here is the code. Now, one thing I want to note is this code is super straightforward and simple, and that's kind of the point. Databricks usually does a pretty good job with that. You can see I'm importing Polars and I'm importing Iceberg, especially the REST catalog. You can see me setting up the catalog here. Again, you'll see the URI, which is basically the URI to my Databricks account /Unity Catalog /Iceberg REST. This is basically the integration that they announced using this endpoint. Of course, I'm just setting my warehouse that already exists, and I'm giving it my personal access token. Those are the only 3 things. Of course, now I'm taking Polars and reading that data set we just looked at. And all I do with Iceberg is I now have my catalog connection from above. Now I can call create table, and I can give it the data frame from Polars from the CSV I read. Of course, you have to turn that into an arrow because it wants an arrow schema. And then I just do the classic data frame write Iceberg and give it the table and mode append, and voila, that should make an Apache Iceberg table inside Databricks, inside our Unity catalog. Wow. Not gonna lie, that was pretty easy and pretty painless for integration. I'm not gonna lie, the first time I ran this, I did get this error. It was like forbidden error, blah, 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 which I knew was kind of weird because, I made a new personal access token just to run this. And yeah, I wasn't quite sure what was going on until I realized that I did have external data access turned on. You could see that below, but what I realized is that I did not grant myself, even though I'm an admin, I still had to grant myself, like I talked about before, use schema, use external, grant external, use schema, on schema this to myself. I hadn't done that, which I should have followed my own whatever advice, but once I did that, off to the moon, I ran that code and it worked. And you can see here, I went inside my Databricks account, right? I did all that outside Databricks on my local Docker machine instance that I was running on my local machine. Went back out, logged in because it said it worked, so I went into my Databricks account, went into my warehouse, and actually it showed up as just another table right there. Look at that. To the moon, baby. Showed up. That's pretty sweet. And honestly, it's hard to even tell the difference at this point between a Delta table and an Apache Iceberg table. Of course, you can go look at it and it says about this table and it data source is Iceberg. So it shows up an Iceberg table, but honestly, other than it saying that, you wouldn't even know the difference, looking through your Unity catalog or working inside Databricks. It kind of makes it nice if you have these multiple table formats, which you may have. I wanted to check. I just opened up a notebook and Databricks SQL and basically selected from that table. And again, it's kind of nice because I didn't have to do anything special, didn't have to do any sort of configuration, add this stuff so we can read Iceberg table, all these jars, none of that crap. It just works out of the box in Databricks with either Delta Lake or Apache Iceberg. I can just play between the two, which makes it super cool. That's pretty nice. And I thought, again, just to double check to make sure we aren't crazy, can we just read the data back from this Apache Iceberg table that's now sitting in Unity catalog that we created outside the environment? Can I, outside the environment in that Docker container, can I go ahead and reach back out to the endpoint and pull the data from that table that I just wrote there? Again, you'll notice this code looks pretty much the same, just set up the catalog using the same information. This time I'm just loading catalog load table, default to the moon. And I just do the polars, scan Iceberg table, collect, and there you go, the results right back. Again, this is outside the Databricks environment, so pretty nice. And honestly, there you have it. Databricks didn't lie. All hail the new Thanos of catalogs. Unity catalog is now basically a stick in the eye to Polaris, to one lake house thing. I don't know. Honestly, there's been a bunch of crappy Iceberg catalogs put out that are impossible to use, and you got to run them on your own systems on some machine somewhere, let it run. So just so you can have a catalog to write to Iceberg, seriously, what a bunch of crap. I like this from Databricks because honestly, I have a Databricks account that costs me like $30 a month because I actually run things. You could go set up a Databricks account and actually not run any compute and really not pay anything for that, maybe $30 a month or something just for it to exist. And all of a sudden you have like this perfect Apache Iceberg catalog for you sitting in the cloud. And it also works as the Delta Lake catalog and an everything else catalog. So I'm not sure why you would pick anything else other than Unity catalog. I don't know. Honestly, it's beyond me why anyone would want to use Apache Iceberg inside Databricks because you have Delta Lake, but now you can. It's seamless. It's easy. There's no reason now to run third-party catalog tools. That's just pointless because now it's fully supported read-write. I don't know what else to say, man.